Are you looking for a change management plan template, specifically in Word? Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you step by step exactly how to create this template in front of you. I'm also going to be making some recommendations as to the data points that you're going to want to capture and the best way to format this important document. Now, if you are short of time, I have made this pre-built, pre-formatted template available for instant download. There will be a link in the description down below if you did want to pick that up. It does come at a cost, but I've made it available for less than the price of a cup of coffee, and it also does help to support this channel, so it is appreciated. Nevertheless, let me now open up a brand new Word document and walk you through exactly how to create this document yourself, should you want to do so. So the first thing that I'm going to recommend that you do after saving this document to an accessible place on your local drive is give the document a title. So at the top here, I'm going to click Insert, and then I'm going to click Header. Now you can choose any one of these formatted header types. The one I'm going to recommend is banded. Now there's various reasons why you're going to want to give your document a title. And we're just going to type in Change Management Plan here. But basically, and I'm going to bold this as well, so select all of that and bold. The reason why we want to give this document a title is if you're sharing this with other stakeholders, they know exactly what they're looking at. And also a header, this will appear on every single page that we create. So it's just really, really useful should you have, if you print this out and just keeping track of all your documents and all the internal pages. So I'm going to call this Change Management Plan. The next thing I'm going to do is click on Shape Format. And here I'm going to choose a color that kind of suits my organization's branding. So I'm going to choose this gray one here, but you might want to choose a different color. You can also, if you click on the shape fill, you can choose any color of your choosing, and that, as I say, meets your organization's colors. So that's the first thing that I'm going to recommend that you do. The second thing is if you click on Insert, then click on Page Number, hover over bottom of page, and then just put this, I'm going to choose accent bar 2. So now it just says here, so every time we create a new page, it will just, that'll be the second one will be page 2, third page, etc. Just keeps all of your documents better organized. So we've done that. If you double left click in here, now we are going to basically create a cover page. This is really important if you are printing this document. So the first thing is going to click Insert, and then I'm going to click on Shape. Now, I'm just doing this to show you, to basically put a placeholder in. What you'd be wanting to do here is click in Insert and Pictures, and then you'd want to choose from your device. Basically, it makes sense here to put in your organization's logo. So I'm just going to put a placeholder in for now. Just select here. This is kind of where you're going to want to put it. So I'm just going to put Add Text, add your organization's logo. And again, I'm just going to put this in for my branding. And I'm going to just home, bold that, and make this a bit bigger. Okay, so that's the first thing I recommend that you do. Then what I'm going to do is put that up a little bit. So left click and drag that up. And I'm going to press enter, 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 just because I want to have the ability to click here underneath. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in author. Now, again, this is a placeholder. You'd be putting your name or whoever's responsible for this document in here. So I'm going to bold that and I'm going to put that in the middle. So my name is Jeremy as an example. I'll be putting Jeremy in here. But yeah, you get the idea. Enter, enter. Date, so the date of the document, whatever that date may be. Enter, enter, and then version number. And the reason why you're going to want to do that is it just gives an indication. So as an example, it could be something like 01 or 000001. Every time you create a new iteration of the document, you change the version number. And that just makes it much easier for people to understand, how much has this document changed. So let's leave it like that for now. Then I'm going to start by creating a table where we can document any of those changes that we make, almost like a revision history. So to do this, I'm going to click Insert and I'm going to click Table. Now, we can always change this as we go on. And what I mean by that is we can always kind of insert more rows and columns if we need it. But what I'm going to do is create we'll do 4 by 6 for now. And then in the first row, I'm going to left click here and drag all the way across. I'm going to right click on my mouse and I'm going to click on merge cells. Left click in here and I'm going to type in revision history. So what I've basically done here is just created almost a little heading for this table. I'm going to click on home. I'm going to keep that bolded. I'm going to put this to 14. So I've just changed the font size down to 14. I'm using Calibri. It's a very professional looking font, really easy to read as well. But again, you could choose a color to suit your company's branding. I'm going to choose this light gray here. And then what I want to do in here is I'm going to type in date, version, description, and then author. So these are kind of subheadings, if you like. So I'll put this down to 11 and we're going to put a lighter gray just to kind of contrast that main heading. And yeah, we can put the date of that revision. So each row would be a change. So the date of that revision, you know, a version. So this could be 0. So the first one would be maybe this. The second one would be 02, etc. Description of what you changed and who was responsible for that change. I'm just going to select all of that content area here, and I'm going to put that as 10. So anything within this table is going to be in font size 10. If we need to create new rows, we can right click and we can go insert rows below, insert rows below. You get the idea, and how many we need. So we've got that revision history. Now what I'm going to do is create a contents page, or in other words, everything this document's going to contain. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write this out in front of you, and then as we go through the rest of the document, I'll walk you through what we can kind of put in these sections. So the first thing is we want an introduction to the document. So one introduction, and then I'm going to unbold, and I'm going to click on the home ribbon. I'm going to hover over indent, increase indent, and I'm going to change it to, where are we? We want to change this to this. So I clicked on the number here. Oh, sorry, I clicked on this one, and then I clicked on this. So I want 1, and I want 1.1. So it's almost like a subsection. And in the introduction, we're going to have objective, and I'm going to make this unbold, and I'm going to make this 14. Enter, and then I'm going to have space, changing roles and responsibility. So these are all the content sections we're going to have. So if anyone open up this document, they will know, I'm going to put a space in there, they will know exactly what they have in front of them, or what's going to be covered underneath. Then I'm going to put another space here, and for number 2, we're going to have overview. We want to bold that, and we want to make that 18 as well, just so it's uniform. Might even put a space in here, like that. And in an overview, we need to talk about the present state. So actually we need to click on indent. So the present state, the future state or ideal state, and also we need somewhere to document our impact analysis. Again, I'll walk you through these in a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this down to, what do we do here? 14. So that's going to be 14. I'm going to unbold. And I need to put a space in here, and a space in here. Now, what I'm going to do to make this a little bit easier is I'm going to select all of this, Control C, enter, 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 Control V. We're going to change this to, no, that's all right, 3. We want that to be number 3. We want this to be now communication. And we're going to want this to be communication strategy, if I can spell communication strategy correct. Communication strategy. We're going to want somewhere to put some stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis. My spelling is really bad today. I apologize for that. And then we're going to want to include a content area for communication activities. Now we're going to do number 4. So select all of this, Control C, and that's what we're going to be using a lot of Control Paste. Once we've set up the initial formatting, we can leverage it going forward. So now it's going to be implementation plan and objectives. Right click, spell it correct. So here we're going to want implementation methods. Here we're going to want implementation activities. And here we're going to want somewhere for our monitoring and evaluation process. We need to document that. We also need to discuss our desired outcome. I'm going to put space in there to keep that nice and well formatted, and also our documentation requirements. So that's that. Don't worry, there's not too much to go here. I'm going to select all of this, Control C, space, 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 space. This would be number 6. So I'm going to select, no, sorry, it would be number 5. It's doing that automatically. It's clever. It's picking up the formatting. Post-implementation plan, and we only need 2 here. So I'm going to select all of those and hit backspace, backspace, backspace. And in the post-implementation plan, we are going to want to discuss the monitoring process. I'll put space in there. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to put criteria for evaluation. Then we're going to want a section, select all of this, Control C, space, 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 Control V. Oh, we need one more space in there. This is going to be our organizational change management team. It's really important we document who's on that panel. And then I'm going to just get rid of this. And in 6.1, it's going to be the core change leadership group. We're going to document who they are. And I'll show you that in a second. And then lastly, I'm going to just Control V. Lastly, it's going to be authorization and sign off. So we need to be able to document that. Right click that, authorization. So that is our contents page. Now what we can do once we've built out the other sections is create these as hyperlinks. So let's just say if you click on introduction, it takes you directly to the page where the introduction is created, but we haven't built that yet, so I'm not going to do that just now. So now what we're going to basically do, that's our contents page. We now need to create the relevant sections, or in other words, to document all of these different things. So I'm going to type in 1 here, and I'm going to type in introduction. I'm going to hit bold. And what you want to do is spend some time formatting the first one, because we're going to be using this as time goes on. So in the introduction section, we're going to create, and we're going to use this for the rest of the document, we're going to create a series of different tables. So insert, so on the top here, insert table, and we are going to do a 1 by 2. In the first one, I'm going to type in objective. We're going to change this font size down to let's do 14. We're going to put a grey background on. And in here, this is the content area. We can make this a little bit bigger if we wanted to. Drag this up. Left click here and drag up. Is it going to let me? Yeah, there we go. Basically, in this content area here, we want to specify the desired outcome and how the change will be beneficial. So it's just a content area. So we're creating little boxes. And what we can do is if I hover over this and left click, we'll just bring it in line with that. It just looks a little bit neater. So we've got the objective. Now what I'm going to do here is if I actually just left click on that little icon there, if you hover over, you should see that icon. Left click, Control C on your keyboard. If you're on a Mac, it might be a slightly different shortcut. It might be Command something, I'm not quite sure. Then it's Control C again on my keyboard, my PC. And what we're going to put here is the changing roles and responsibilities. So in this content section, let me spell this correctly first. I'm actually going to have to leverage the spell check. In this content section, we're basically going to be discussing how the change will impact existing and new positions. Now, if I quickly just hover up to the top, now we've basically done this content area. So we've done objective and we've done the changing roles and responsibilities. So that's the first one. Now I'm going to type in number 2, and now we're going to do the overview. So if we were to refer back to the content page, you'll see over to overview. So now we need to create these content areas: present state, future state, and impact analysis. Now we could create these as separate tables, but I think this formatting looks really good for this section. So insert table, we are going to do a 2 by 3. Now I'm going to double left click in here, press Control C and Control V in here, Control V in here, Control V in here. I'm going to left click here and drag it across so we're all in line. I am going to change this to current state, and you can always refer back to the contents page to know exactly what you're putting in here. So, well, present state or current state, I'll change that to keep it uniform. Present state, future state, and we need somewhere for the impact analysis. And I'm going to put that as bold. I'm going to put this in a home. We want that nice gray. So now we've got, and I'll left click here and drag this across. Now we've got some content areas, and we could also bring this down if we wanted to, like this. Left that down. I kind of want them to be the same, so that's probably a bit too, but you get the idea. So we've got some content areas to put basically this information. So what you'd be wanting to put in these sections are, here you want to list and detail all processes impacted by the project, provide any supporting documentation such as policies, standards, regulation, codes or procedures. In the future state, you want to discuss how the above processes will be impacted by the change and the plan to execute and implement the change. In the impact analysis, you need to assess how the change will impact processes, policies, stakeholder interests, things like staffing, costs, funding, etc. So now we're going to do the communication section. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the introduction, and down here, Control C, here, Control V. We're going to call this the communication, and we are going to just overwrite this to communication strategy. And in basically here, we're going to be identifying any existing positions involved in the change process. So that's that. I'm going to put 3 here. So now I want to create a little table. So what I'm actually going to do, because we've already created one already, is I'm going to go up to the revision history. I'm going to left click on here, Control C, and I'm going to go all the way down to here, enter Control V. What I'm actually going to do is just make sure this is all in line. So I'm just going to do that, and I might need to do that up here. Yeah, that's not going to be, so I'm going to do that as well. That should make it more in line. So that should be in line. Now, we obviously don't need this content. What we want here is somewhere to document some stakeholder analysis. Or in other words, we want to discuss all the different, or document all the different stakeholders on this change. So as an example, nature of impact and extent of impact. Now we don't need the final column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to click delete. I'm going to put delete columns. Okay, that's not, okay. What I'm going to do is press Control Z. I'm going to right click, and what we're going to do is, no, what we'll do is let's create role of stakeholder. Let's create a new column, because it's always good to provide more information. So put that in there, Control V. And it's going to be nature and extent of impact. So, no, let's put stakeholder name, stakeholder interest. Doesn't have to be their particular role. Okay, so that's that. So now we're going to go on to page 4. You'll see this is all populating. Now we need to create a table for, so we're still in the communication section. So I copied that table here, Control V. Now we need to basically have a content area or somewhere to document all of the communication activities, or in other words, you want to detail how milestones or results will be communicated to stakeholders, including when you're going to do it and also the frequency as well. So that's number 3. Now the next we're going to do is I'm going to select the introduction section, because we're going to, Control Z. I want these 2 tables, so Control C. We're going to go down here, enter Control V. Now this is going to be number 4, which is the implementation plan and objectives. And let's just take that out, put 4. There we go. And in here, we need to have implementation methods and implementation activities. So if I Control C that, Control V that, activities. So here, yeah, discuss the methods and procedures for executing the plan. And here, you want to break down things like the costs involved for those methods, or provide any information in an outline by completing a certain task or activity, as an example. So we've done that. Now what we're going to need to do is copy this, left click, Control C. We're going to go down here, enter, Control V. And this time we're going to put in our process schedule. So we need activity name, we need activity description, we need party responsible, and we need a predicted or anticipated start date or engagement date. So let's put that in there. If I right click and put insert columns to the right, what we're actually going to do is put in predicted end date as well. Now I'm going to drag this across like this, do this, Control Z. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just I'm making the table a bit more narrow. Let's make this here, and there we go. There we go. So now we have this table. And the one more thing I need to do is I'm going to select both of those, right click, and then put merge. Lovely. So that is the process schedule. Now we need a couple more tables. So I'm going to select for this section. So I'm going to select both of these, Control C, and I'm going to go down here and Control V. Now we want to have somewhere to discuss the monitoring and evaluation process. We also want to, let's copy that one again. I must have lost the content area. And in here, we want to discuss the design outcome. So how does it all impact basically the organization, with the changes? So now we're at number 5. We're getting there, don't worry. I'm going to select all of this, these two, Control C. I'm going to go here, Control V. This is now number 5. Yep, number 5. And again, you can refer back to the contents page at any point if you wanted to see exactly what you need to include. So post-implementation plan. And here we want to discuss the monitoring process. And we also want to discuss some evaluation criteria, but I've lost that box again. So if I select this, evaluation criteria. I just want to make sure that I've got everything right here. So let's just go to up here, number 5. Yeah. Lovely. Criteria for evaluation. Lovely. And then number 6, it's going to be, so I'm going to select this and we'll put that in here. So Control Z, Control C, Control Z. This is going to be the organizational change management team. And then we're going to go back to this lovely table we created earlier, Control C. We're going to put this in here, Control V. We are going to call this the same thing, actually. Let's Control C, Control there, copy that across, get rid of the number. And here we're going to have the name of the individual. We're going to put a title. What do they do? We could put their role on the project. We could put the department they work in, and we can also put their contact information. So let's do that. Contact. So now we have that. And the last thing we need to build, if I select all of this, Control C, enter Control V, 7 is the approval. So essentially we are looking for authorization and sign off, or in other words, who is going to give us the go ahead. So we need all of this. Now just change the last 2 to signature and a date. Now, if you wanted to, you could also create this at the bottom, Control V. You can do something like this, notes, and just have a content bit at the bottom here. Get rid of all of that, press OK, and just have an area to discuss notes. I'm actually going to remove this entire insert rows below, insert rows below. And then what you could do is just put a white background on. Then yeah, you've got a content area there where if you want to just add any additional notes, you have the ability to do so. So that is a change management plan in Word. I hope this video was useful and that you've now got a template that you can leverage going forward. Any questions, comments, feedback on this template or process, drop them down below. And with that said, over to you. Best of luck, and I hope you have an excellent day.